And then I was afraid of that candle affecting you. Can
It's
you tell?
fine, actually,
Okay.
since I got back into the yoga, so smells aren't bugging
Not
me
as
as
bad?
much.
Okay.
And this isn't bug. It's fine. It's not too like.
Okay. So I should leave it unlit probably, but for now it's good?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm worried because I know what it feels like to... Because I'm allergic to cats. Mm-hmm. So I walk in and I can tell right away that I'm going to be screwed up. Like that time we went to Mark. We were playing with Mark in Fargo, I think. We stayed at somebody's house. And he's like, I don't have a cat, the owner. And all of a sudden at night, Mark went to the bathroom and I saw a cat walk from the bathroom to the bedroom. And I'm like, oh, they were just hiding it from me.
Why would they do that?
I think they did that to help. It was like, what do they call that? Placebo effect. If you walk in, you don't see a cat, you're not going to feel it. But I felt it right away. And I was like, why do I feel so crappy?
I had a client, essential oils will get me. They're too strong, but I was touching her and I was like, I can't swallow.
Like massage? You're doing
yeah,
massage there?
and
Okay.
I'm like, I feel it like at the end, and by the second time I had felt like crap. I was like totally out of it, and I had to take my stronger medication.
And you're like, what's going on?
I saw her again, and she didn't like believe me.
Oh.
And I emailed her. I said, look, I can't. And I was starting to get a hive on my face. And after Michelle noticed. And she's like, yeah, your face is like, it's red and I can see, and I'm
Really?
like, yeah.
So it'll just start up, you can feel them coming on?
That's the first start
Okay.
that I know something's going on. But that doesn't always mean it's alarming. What's alarming is when I can't breathe out of my nose.
Oh, sure.
And if
What about,
my eye swells.
does your throat ever swell up?
It feels like it is, but I never really know if it is for sure. It's like one of those, like, is this going to or not? And then you just don't even mess around and take your stronger meds.
Okay.
But I have had the one where you feel like I just can't swallow.
I hate that when you wake up and you
Pressure.
convince yourself that you might be getting sick and you keep swallowing, and I swear you can make yourself sick just by when you keep swallowing and convincing yourself that you have something going on there.
Oh, sure.
But then if you forget about it later on in the day, you feel fine and you're like, man, I almost thought myself into being
Yeah. Oh,
really
yeah.
sick.
Right.
That'd be terrible. I almost did that this morning, actually. I shouldn't run Pro Tools in front of someone who knows Pro Tools, because I did that for my friend Chris, who's an engineer, and he kept watching it, waiting for it to like pause or something. And I'm like, I did the same thing on the first podcast. I was like, is this thing freezing? So I just try to dim it. It'll go to a screensaver soon. You keep saying stronger meds. Like, I know what that's like to have different levels, but how many levels of medications do you have?
So I have I'm on H1 histamine blockers.
That's level 1.
Yeah, like H2 is like Zantac and Prevacid. I don't take those because I feel like they make it worse. Anything worse. But if I was vomiting or the other one, then I would go to that if it didn't stop after a few hours. And then I have an EpiPen. That's last resort.
Ooh, what would cause that?
Um,
What would cause you to need to use that?
Last time was fear. So
Okay.
the last time I had anaphylaxis, I was out at a park with my daughter, and this man walks by. I was getting her stroller out. She's 2.
Mm-hmm.
And he had this hood on, and it was like beautiful sunny day. No, shouldn't be wearing the
Yeah, a
hoodie.
little sketchy.
And he was walking towards us, and I was like, oh, and I quickly like went back in. I was like mad, and then all of a sudden the hives started coming up, and I'm like,
Whoa.
crap, and I'm like, I can't swallow. And then I have shortness of breath. And
So any panicky thing kind of triggers
Yeah.
adrenaline, maybe, that makes that
Yeah,
happen?
yep.
Whoa.
And then my eye started swelling. It was swollen. My lip was swollen. And I had to call a family member to come get my daughter. But I just sat at a bench, and I'm like, what the hell? But this other doctor thinks it's estrogen dominance. And when you have fight or flight go on, a woman will have more estrogen.
Okay.
So anything that triggers my PTSD will do that.
Interesting. I always thought it would be some sort of, well, can estrogen become sort of like a testosterone is for guys?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
got
it can. Yeah, there's some, like, I'm like, why am I so muscly if
Yeah.
I have estrogen dominance? I looked it up and know you could be very muscular. In fact, women after menopause, they start to lose muscle mass because the ovary, all that stuff shuts down.
Whoa. That's weird how it works the opposite. Mm-hmm. Because I stopped getting soy milk and everything because people kept saying it's giving you extra estrogen.
Yeah, it does. I'm not supposed to have anything soy.
Okay.
So watch your chocolate too. Look for soy lecithin and don't.
Okay.
Just because of it, things in our environment can cause excess estrogen. Like that candle can, but depending what's in it.
Yeah, I buy only the high class candles from Target.
Yeah, right. No, it smells good.
Yeah, it's just I'm sort of basic. It's the vanilla thing going on.
Yeah, I
but
wouldn't know unless I read the ingredients.
Yeah, it's probably a bunch of words I've never heard of with X's in it and stuff, Kind of like food. I was talking to that with my friend Christopher, and we were talking about how when you start counting carbs and seeing what sugars are in things, and he's on a diet pop kick right now, which is scary for me because I know what that does to me.
Yeah.
Aspartame almost killed me. I felt like I was 90 years old doing jiu-jitsu, getting done, being sore for 2 weeks. And when I switched gum to a non-aspartame gum, and people are like, oh, there's so little of it in gum, but it doesn't matter. Even just a trace of it messed me up.
Yeah.
And it was night and day, so I knew when I did this experiment on myself that it was that. And people are drinking Diet Coke like it's great. Like everyone's so addicted to Diet Coke. And if it works so well, if it was truly Diet Pop, you'd think there'd be way more skinny people in the world. But
every person I know that's drink diet soda is slightly. There's only maybe 2 women I know, and they're very active. In my whole life, like one lady I worked with at a place, and she's just so active and hyper, and it definitely didn't affect her that way. And then another woman too, but usually they're slightly obese.
Strange, the correlations. Because I had 4 friends who found out they had diabetes within like 4 months, I think, of each other. And it was terrifying. What's happening here? And then I was looking for things that they all did and didn't do, and I'm starting to put it all together. Like I told my last interview was a conspiracy wall. So I had their names and then these lines connecting, and it all led back to Diet Coke or something. But
oh my God, Diet Coke!
It's Diet Pop, whatever is in that damn aspartame. But the gum I have is xylitol, and they say
That's
it's
what I use.
But how long till they find out something's up with that too? I just don't know what's
I
good.
know. It's really best to not chew gum at all.
I heard.
Because it's bad for the environment, and it's actually bad for your stomach because it makes your stomach think, oh, I'm going to digest food now. Mm-hmm. So the only time I chew it is when I'm at, doing massage and I ate lunch and
Sure.
I had onions or something, and I got to get off of it. But I like it when I do jujitsu because when I'm grappling and stuff, I can accidentally clench my teeth together too hard, and that's not, or I get flung or whatever. And now flung's the right word, but
You do get flung for sure.
yeah, you get flung. So it's nice to have, just for me to have that thing to bite on. I should use my mouth guard, but it's like no one else does. So then you're like, should I?
It's embarrassing how much I use my mouth guard because my friend Nate actually had a tooth get knocked out.
Oh.
And I was thinking, all it takes is for a spazzy
Yeah.
partner to just boom, elbow you in the mouth, or you're trying to pass and they lift their knee up really fast or something. So
I'm going to do it.
even though I have to pull it out every time I talk because I'm just mumbling with it in, I think it's worth doing that. I think it was Matt Hughes. He said, you know why you wear a mouth guard and a cup? And he pulled out all these, he had like a whole set of false teeth. He just pulled them out. He's like, because of this. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, lesson learned.
Man, yeah, I was grappling with a guy and he wasn't wearing a nut cup. And so I'm like, and you can't help but you have to get into these certain, and I'm like, you should be wearing one. You should really get one. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
for sure.
so I don't think we should grapple.
For more than just his benefit too, for his partner's benefit.
Yeah. I was like, I can't do what I do. Mm-hmm. It was weird. And he was a spaz too. I'm like, if I grapple with the guy, I'm going to wear a mouth guard again.
Mouth guard, and then If a guy does work up, it's kind of funny because it could actually be used for your advantage. Because when you do arm bars, sometimes it helps protect you from cranking their elbow into your junk, and then that hurts. One time I did it, and I had to let go of it because his elbow was right there. And I was thinking, I just got to go buy a steel cup or something and make everyone tap out.
Oh, there you go.
It's sort of like my rib that popped out. It's still out a little bit, so I use it as a weapon when I just do side control. I kind of dig it in a little bit. It sounds so mean. I wonder if people are like, what are they talking about? But you started doing jiu-jitsu how long ago now?
It was last October.
It's been only that
2018,
long, huh?
yeah.
Jeez. And you're already working your way up the ranks.
Yes, I'm trying.
That's awesome. Just got another stripe.
Yes, 3rd stripe, gold belt, and Shinbudo.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you're going to eventually take your jiu-jitsu test so you can get your blue belt. That'd be awesome.
Yes. I hope.
The blue belt in jiu-jitsu is huge. It's basically what I've heard. It's like getting a black belt in other martial arts because it can take that long. And you have to do so much and go through so much to just get that belt. That purple and brown look just so far away. You just got to really focus on the blue. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously focus on the white and get far with that as far as you can. But there are white belts out there that are badasses. You don't want to mess with even like a 2-stripe white belt. They know stuff. Mm-hmm. And then from there, it's all about finding your game. And it seems to be just butting your head against the wall till you figure something out. I don't know.
Yeah.
What have you learned the most so far?
In jiu-jitsu? Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. A lot. Not to muscle so much because you're not gonna, doesn't do anything.
It tires you out.
It tires you out. And then you're not doing the moves properly. Mm-hmm. So of my size, I was kind of like in the beginning, they're like, you're so small, or whatever. And I kind of got teased for it. And then I was like, oh, yeah. And so I just like get, because I am strong for a small person. But
people in class were teasing you for being small?
Oh, yeah. Some people.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And one guy was like, eat more food. And I'm like, I do eat food. I have allergies. And
You're explaining it. You
and I'm like, why am I explaining myself to this guy as being a jerk? And he was kind of being a jerk, but he was doing it to everybody. Okay. I think I told you about this person before.
Yeah, guy needs to chill out a little bit.
Yeah, he needs to chill or work through some dark stuff. But it was comedy. He's like a Saturday Night Live character for sure.
This is the guy telling everyone to pass his guard.
Yeah, it's pass my guard, and then he'd just and curl up in a ball.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm like, I can just get up and kick you for real if there's a real fight.
Yes.
But yeah.
You got to learn that the hard way sometimes.
Yeah, and he muscled too quite a bit, but you don't have to if you're doing it right. Mm-hmm. And I want to get better at that because the muscling does kind of help you to get to your next thing sometimes, whatever your next move is. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I've learned so much. Walking into it, you're just like, what? It's like you look at a guitar, like you're picking up a guitar for the first time and you have no musical knowledge whatsoever. And you just, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I like this. I don't think I like this. And then you do start to like it, like the community and all of that.
You start to wonder why you keep going back to something that's so crazy. And I wonder that too, but then you realize life sometimes, especially when you get to a certain point, you're out of school, you don't really have a chance to do any competitive stuff in sports anymore like you used to. And even just doing volleyball in class was fun sometimes. And then you find a way to be competitive with yourself through this as well. And even if you go home totally broken and beat up, you think, well, at least I did this one move right, or at least I survived. That's my thing now against some people. I survived 10 seconds when they were about to choke me. That seems like a victory. And then you go, what if I make that 15 seconds next time? What if I get on top? What if this happens? And that's how you start turning the tides.
Yeah.
Spending all the time, first year, 2 years, almost always on the bottom in jiu-jitsu. It just feels like, how do you go up from there? And it feels like such a big, steep climb that you'll never do it. But you're already starting to do it. People are saying you're giving them trouble rolling now, right?
Yeah,
It's good side control and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, I really am just determined to get determined at things, and I just want to I want to get good at this, and I want to be an MMA fighter, even though I'm too old. But
That'd be awesome. I don't know if I'd want you to, but
I know
you have the fire to do that.
Everybody's
kind of stuff.
I don't know. Some people are yeah, but
just do one. Go in there and fight someone who hasn't fought either.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Right.
If you fight right, I've seen friends fight where they didn't even have to throw a punch. They go in, take the person down, get mount, and choke the person out. It's classic jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And then you leave, and I'm afraid you're going to have this feeling of invincibility. What's my next fight? But who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know why limit anybody unless, obviously, they're worried about your brain or something.
Right, yeah, the concussion thing or having a spinal cord injury and not being able to walk again. And
there's always that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot to worry about. And, I think that I could do one fight and then decide from there. And if I get really hurt really bad, well, that's my choice,
Maybe just talk to all the people that have fought and see maybe what their experience was. And because there are people that from our school even that have gone in and lost their first fight and just never fought again. Mm-hmm. But they can go to their grave saying they fought an MMA fight in their life. Mm-hmm. And I can't say that. I've rolled with people. I've done taekwondo, kickboxing, but walking into that cage, it's a different thing.
Yeah, where they want to kill you.
Yeah, when
basically.
They shut the door, okay, I either have to beat this person or I'm tapping or whatever, going to sleep, whatever, and then one of us has to come out. Well, you'll both come out. It's not like game of death or something, but it's still, whenever the fighters talk about that moment where you really get clear, it's when that cage shuts. It's okay. We're in it. We can't turn back. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see somebody freak out and just jump over the top of the fence someday. Just, nope, this isn't for me. Sorry. I thought it was.
Or someone grabs their pants and now you get back here.
Could you imagine their opponent? Like, what do we do? Anyone in the crowd know jiu-jitsu or how to fight?
Right? Yeah. Well, maybe I'll start off competition team or it's jiu-jitsu. I don't know.
Yeah, just comp team alone can be like when you start doing MMA incorporated in jiu-jitsu and someone's punching you and before you could just escape a certain way and not worry about punches, you go, okay, now if they weren't wearing pads, how would this feel if it already feels this crazy?
Yeah.
You feel like you're just being smothered. And it's a pretty terrifying feeling, but like anything, when you first started sparring, you had some bad experiences and you felt a little scared. But now I think you're starting to feel better sparring.
I am feeling better. Like my PTSD would just flare. The first time I did it, my PTSD just went up and I'm like, I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. And I was holding my body really tight and I was getting hit in the face a lot. And I'm just like, oh, and I just get mad and I'm like, I'm going to, and I had to tell my partner, I'm getting really pissed off at you. And he's like, what? And he couldn't hear me because of my mouth guard on. So I'm like, and because I just thought he would go a little easier because he's done boxing fights before. And
we mentioned he was going harder than he should have.
He's definitely because with other people I've sparred with, it's not like that at all.
It's not normal to feel that's,
Yeah, and I thought he would give me the rundown beforehand. Hey, this is how you block a kick. You raise your knee up. I was blocking kicks with my hands, and then I got my thumb jammed, and it's still messed up.
It is?
It's still messed up.
Even 4 gigs later, and you still have a sore thumb?
It's sore thumb, yeah. It's I don't know. Maybe it'll go away after 6 months, I hope. And if it doesn't, then that's lesson learned.
No, it will go away. It's those nagging injuries.
Yeah.
Like if you hurt your toes, they take forever to heal. And you just wonder, did I break it or what actually happened?
I know. I got to get those shoes.
You going to do that?
Yeah, I am. My feet are looking weird, too. They look a little puffy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think it's just because it's building up
the
muscle from kicking the bag.
You got martial art feet going.
I got martial art feet going. And I'm like, no, I used to have pretty feet. No, they're ugly, but it's okay. And
you got to get a pedicure. They're like,
yeah,
what
I mean,
the hell?
I got how many marks on? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 4 perfect ones on the the tarsals.
Yeah.
Metatarsals or whatever. But
well, a lot of that's, and then you feel, a lot of that's from gripping, right? Or was it from mat burn or something?
Oh, some of it was it's mat burn, yeah. Like the skin's peeling off and you're doing not active toes. You know, you're laying them flat, which I always try to just have active toes now.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, laying your top of your foot on the mat is kind of asking for it. Just all of a sudden you scrape it and you feel it. You're like, okay, that's going to be a bad one. Speaking of Matt Byrne, did I tell you that the guy who I hurt my knee against, his name is Matt Byrne?
Oh, really?
Isn't that funny? He has no choice but to be either a wrestler or jiu-jitsu. But he didn't mean to do it. It was a freak thing. But like anything, that healed, and now I'm back, and I don't know, just like your thumb will be fine. But that's an interesting thing because you're my first person I'm talking to about jiu-jitsu. Everybody else is just musician or friends of mine or whatever. So I was going to say, what's it like knowing these fingers that you're gripping and getting torn, you know what I mean, and all that? You're going to have to use maybe even that night to play a show in your bands.
Yeah, you know, I try not to go to open gym or anything the day before I have a show, or the day of the show. But now I'm starting to feel better with my grappling. But after definitely not sparring. I will not spar, because sometimes when I spar, I feel like I got hit by a truck. You know, depending how many times I get hit in the face, because my neck doesn't like it. And your neck, you have nerve plexuses that come out from your neck that go into your hands, and they'll get numb.
Yeah, it's all connected here, isn't it?
Yeah, you're in your pec. So, and I don't know if I hope people know anatomy when they hear this. I'm sorry.
Go Google it
I'm
as you're
geeking
talking.
out, right? Yeah, Google brachial plexus and your, well, whatever. But, yeah, I'm mindful of that and save that energy, because your adrenaline goes up when you're sparring or even rolling, and you want to save that for your show. Like, I don't want to go on the stage all tired and
That's a good point.
injured. Not that I get injured I'm getting better at not getting injured. I don't know why, but maybe I'm just learning and picking up better, training with you.
Yeah, maybe just relaxing and using more technique than anything. Because the only time I've gotten hurt severely, like, not severely, just in a stupid way, it's against whenever I work with the white belts, and they try to do something really crazy. And the better you get, the less you're going to do those crazy things. I had someone in a semi-choke before, and they spun as fast as they could. And I was thinking, man, if I was gripping really tight, they would have snapped their own neck probably. So you wouldn't do that stuff now.
No.
So that's good. Or if you feel in danger, you know to tap. When you're a white belt, you think, I can get out, and you want to yank your arm out. And this almost happened to me once. Someone had me in an arm bar, and they were on the ground, and I was kind of standing. I thought, I could just pull my arm out. And as I pulled, my arm straightened, and I heard a pop. I was like, oh, shoot, So I learned my lesson there.
Pop, yeah.
The old popping sound. I've had it pop 3 times once, and in a week I was okay, but it was still scary to think.
Sometimes it feels good.
Yeah, like, thank you.
Like,
it's back in place.
You fixed it.
That's what happened.
My elbow did, from arm barring, I did do something bad happen to my elbow.
Yeah.
But then it went away.
Okay.
I don't mean to say bad, but it was uncomfortable for a while.
Well, the human body, sometimes you wonder how far you can push it. And I wake up every day, and it's this weird feeling of, I'm getting out of bed, I'm good. Weird. Because back when I was doing 3 times a week or more, it just felt like I was always sore. And now I supplement it with yoga and P90X and Insanity. And now I feel like when I go work with some people, I feel stronger, and I feel like I'm less likely to get injured. So I think that you do have to supplement a little bit with some things if you feel like your body is susceptible to those things.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, you're the yoga queen.
Yeah,
so.
I stopped doing yoga for like 2-3 months in my jiu-jitsu practice. And I was okay for a couple weeks, but then I really felt it. And I also used the yoga to manage my allergies. So,
multi-use.
Yeah, like when I came in, we're talking about your candle, and it's like that would have bothered me. And smells were seriously starting to bother me. Like even rolling with people, some of them wearing cologne, and I remember like, oh, how can I handle this? And I can't. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to hurt their feelings. But and then,
dude, can the Old Spice.
Yeah,
we're rolling.
Yeah, I think it's better to not spray that stuff on. But I'm getting better. I don't get a migraine anymore. So that's great.
Do you know the science, like why yoga would keep you stronger against that?
I
build up your
don't
defenses?
know. Well, because of the estrogen dominance thing, I mean, that part makes sense because in the list of like things I was told to avoid from my doctor, essential oils were on there or fragrances, even false ones, because they elevate your estrogen level.
What do you mean false ones? Just artificially made?
Yeah,
Okay.
artificially made.
Gotcha.
And let me think here. So what happens, your estrogen level elevates. So when you're doing yoga, I'm sweating and I'm being physically active. Physical activity decreases your estrogen level
Really?
during the process. And I think with jiu-jitsu, it might elevate and it might decrease because it depends if my fight or flight starts to get kicked on.
So the more you can relax while you're rolling, you'll get more benefit out of it.
Yes,
Right? Oh,
and
sweet.
yoga teaches me how to relax in a stressful circumstance. So
That's so true. You're holding these postures and shaking, but you got to relax, otherwise you're going to burn out, right?
and you have to breathe. It teaches you like, oh, just continuously breathe. Like, so I'm so used to breathing 6 seconds in my belly and 6 seconds out. Or maybe someone's crushing you on top and you can't
Yeah.
really belly breathe right now, which sucks. I hate that when that happens when someone's got you crushed. Then you can breathe through your nose and start doing the ujjayi breath, which is it's more constricted. And,
Okay.
But that creates more heat in your body, so it'll give you a little more energy too. And that
Gotcha.
might,
Interesting.
yeah.
Because whenever there's a huge dude on me, I think I had a 350-pound guy on me once. I think he was that heavy. Well, he felt that heavy, put it that way. And his gi was wet, and it was on my face, and my stomach and chest were constricted, and all I had was like, and I was thinking, as long as I have this little wind, because having asthma, I've had to do that at night just to get through the night before I had inhalers. And it would just be like, as long as I get a little breath in, I can survive enough to get out. And then you start moving and you get out eventually, hopefully, or you tap. But the same thing happens with getting choked. If someone really has a good choke going on you, but you still feel like you have, this sounds psychotic, at least one vein going to your brain,
Yeah.
you know you're okay. And sometimes just your hand is protecting that one vein from being choked out.
Right.
And I thought, if that ever happened in real life, I was getting choked, I could probably survive some pretty hairy situations because you know your limit. You know when the blackness starts coming and you're about to go out. I don't know if you've ever felt that.
I always am able to get out of chokes, except
slide out.
you're nice to me though. So maybe I should just let you do it.
Let's do it right here.
The first time you did it to me, like when you were showing me a rear naked choke, I did feel it, but I get this weird delayed response for some reason. So
Okay.
I do get a little extra minutes in there. I don't know why, because I vasodilate when I get hot. So maybe I have more oxygen going in. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
Technically, you shouldn't, but who knows? Or maybe I don't know. You'll have to tell me.
Well, I did this thing called Wim Hof Breathing. It's like a method where you breathe 30 times in, and then you let all the air out, and you see how long you can hold, like you time yourself, and you see how long you can go before you have to take another breath. And by the time you've done 30 breaths, you have so much oxygen in your blood that I think I went for 2.5 minutes without breathing.
Whoa.
And that sounds like a lot, but there are people in the military who have to do this underwater stuff, and they have to do it for 4 to 5 minutes or something crazy
Oh my
like that.
gosh.
But I thought, as long as you have oxygen in your blood, you can last a long time. Mm-hmm. But I wonder if that's the same with your brain, because cutting off your brain, like the blood to your brain, I think would put anyone to sleep in any situation if it was tight enough. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Maybe you just wouldn't feel like you had to take a breath. That's a good question. We should experiment.
Let's experiment.
I'll do some Wim Hof breathing and you choke me.
Okay.
And see. Of course, I'm always afraid of getting choked out because you could pee your pants. You could do anything.
Oh.
I saw a kid go out one time, and it
Oh.
was funny because he's like, I don't think this choke is work. And he made this really loud snoring sound. And the instructor at the time let go, and he put him on his back. He did all the right stuff or whatever. And I was thinking, man, it would suck to pee yourself or be the guy in class that got, choked
Oh.
out.
But
I
at
did-
least your pants are black though.
That's true. That's the good thing about that school. But one time I almost went out. I was on top in Mount. And this guy on the bottom, he was Russian, so he was tough. And he grabbed my gi down here, not even up by my neck, but down by my chest. And he pulled it across like he was doing a choke. And I sort of laughed because I'm like, I've never seen someone choke someone from down there.
Whoa.
He just had this Russian strength or something. He pulled down as he pulled out. And all of a sudden, I look up and the walls were turning purple and pink and they're white.
Oh.
And I tapped and I was thinking, I can't believe I tapped from being on top and mount. How embarrassing.
Wow, I want to do that move.
Yeah, I mean, you're better off doing it higher up. I wouldn't do it from bottom mount, though. You get armbarred. But, man, it was not pretty. It was really bad. It was embarrassing. But it taught me the limit because you got to find out how far out you can go to see you can go before you can't come back. Mm-hmm. And I think I found the edge of it. So. Oh my gosh. It's a peaceful feeling though, from what I was feeling. Have you ever fainted before?
Oh, I fainted. Yeah, you're just not even aware. It is peaceful. I fainted in church.
I was gonna ask you, how many times have you fainted in? Like,
there's two times. One was very severe. It was like biking, and I was like 6 or 7. A biking faint. So that was bad. I had a black eye and a.
So you fell off your bike?
I just remember biking, and then I had a bad accident on the bike. But I know I fainted before, unless I hit my head so hard that I had a concussion.
Okay.
I don't know, it was very weird. And so, but then recently it was considered, well, with my condition, you get POTS, but.
What's that?
Which is like a fainting disorder, which I've only fainted once, so I don't have POTS. But I remember sitting in church and praying, and I closed my eyes. So I was closing my eyes. So it's like normally when you faint, your eyes are open, you see stars. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I fainted more than that. But the last time I could remember, and it was like I had an out-of-body experience, and I was talking to somebody.
Whoa!
But I don't know. It was like I had a happy dream or something. Okay. And then I came back in my body, and it was like, and I was like, I just fainted. Like I either I passed out or I fainted, and my body started freaking out. And
so you're outside of your body before. That's
but I felt like I was in my body the whole time though. Okay. I've had an out of body experience before, and that was like I was out of my body.
Mm-hmm. So it's possible to be out. It's an amazing. I had it once, but I don't know if you want to talk about your experience. I know it was kind of traumatic and stuff. But when I did it voluntarily. I was laying in my bed, and I was reading all these books on astral projection. Yeah, and I thought that'd be really cool to. The experiment was have somebody write a symbol and put it on the inside of a cupboard in the kitchen that you live in, and you don't know what it is, and you come out of your body and you travel and you look at it and come back and tell them what it is. Mm-hmm. And I remember just laying there, and it was a thing called the Munroe Method, and you lay down, and pretty soon you're supposed to fill your body with this sensation, which I can do now anytime I want, and it's a really good feeling where you suddenly feel like your hand is full of energy. It's like, I feel it. It's like it's filling up with sand or light or something. Whoa. So I lit up my whole body like that, laid there for about 5 minutes, and then thought, wouldn't it be nice to just float? And that's sort of the method. And I felt this pulling feeling. And I thought, it's just in my head. I'm just feeling this pulling in my head. Suddenly, I pulled so far out, I was sitting up finally. I was like, whoa, that caused me to sit up. Weird. But then I realized I was still laying down. Oh. So it felt like I came out of...
At least you did that, man.
Yeah, I did it very voluntarily. But I sat up, and it felt like I was coming out of a wetsuit or something. Like, I'm free. Weird. And the scariest part of it, I freaked out, by the way, because I realized I was really sitting up, or I was really laying down when I was actually sitting up. So I laid back down, and it felt like I went back in this like perfectly fitted suit. It was weird. But then I realized how scary it was that it felt like something I had done 1,000 times before. Yeah. When it's such a weird idea. So I wonder if every night you come out of your body somehow. Nobody really knows what sleeping and dreaming is really all about. Right. So I wonder that. But man, that was a weird feeling. So I wonder if we could do that anytime we want, if we figure it out. I don't know.
I would find it more believable if I could see, some people talk about I went to turn the lamp off, or the other ones were super spiritual. I went to other realms. And there's two distinct times I remember. But the first time it happened, I was practicing Qigong a lot, and
that's energy through the body, right?
Same sort of thing? Your chi is And it's a mystical practice, actually. Like, you martial artists used to do it, and
It's a very kung fu-y thing, I think.
yeah. And I remember seeing a universe, and you know how the stars move really fast, like you're going into warp speed, like in Star
that's
Trek.
What I picture, yeah.
And it was like whoosh, and then I just remember talking to somebody, and it was a really happy conversation, and I'm like, oh yeah, cool, yay. But I didn't know who I was talking to. I didn't know what the conversation. But this happened. What preceded this was I went and saw an alchemist, and I didn't know what an alchemist was. It was like one of my friends was like, you should go see this person. He's a healer, and
I thought an alchemist turned lead into gold.
It's so he called himself an alchemist. I really think he was like his website's crazy. Like, he was with the Golden Age. Have you heard the Golden Dawn? Or he was into that, and he had like a Buddhist like symbol necklace, and he appeared to be really holy. At first. And when I walked in the room, I could feel this energy like pulsing, this pulsing thing. But I remember laying on the table, and I felt this force holding me down on the table, like I couldn't move, and it was very freaky. So that's why I started to do the breathing, is because like I feel very scared right now, and I don't know what to do. And I should have just ended the session. I think I'm just going to put this out there in the universe. If you ever get any sort of session from anybody and you start to feel scared, your body's scared, trust your intuition, and just, you have the right. Or maybe not even scared. Someone's offending you. You know, I'm a massage therapist, so I'm just going to put that out there, because no one tells you these things.
Then you feel stuck there. And
you felt stuck, and like you had to be subjected to this whatever he was doing. And he didn't do anything to my body, but he did something to me spiritually, and it really messed me up afterwards, which is a whole long story, and I'm not going to take up a podcast on that. But you have the right to end the session. So just end the session. Just say, hey, let's be done. I'm done. Let me go. Just get out of there. And you don't have to pay them. You don't. I mean, you can. I guess I would, because you booked the time, but, if you're uncomfortable, just end it.
Most likely they're going to let it go, because small claims court would suck anyway for anybody.
Yeah.
So what do you think you would have done if you would have just called it?
I have no idea. He's kind of, I think he would have let me go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he didn't seem very, just evil about it.
No, like I went back to him again.
Okay.
Because I was like, what, because I wanted answers. I was like, where did I go? Who? And he said that he gave me over to some archangel, which I think is a demon. And it really, like, he did. Because, I could feel his presence around me all the time when he wasn't around me. And he was starting to flirt with me, and
so he's just trying to get in your head.
He was trying to get in my head, and he did it through energy work, and people can do that.
That's a sneaky backdoor way to get in.
Yeah, and yeah, he was just I don't know, and I don't know if that was his intention initially, but that's when I started to have discernment with people, just like, is this person safe or not safe? It kind of, I was starting to read the Bible, and I don't think it's a coincidence that when I decide to give the Bible a chance, because I never gave it a chance, and I'm that kind of person, like, how can I reject something if I don't give it a chance? And I saw things line up, like, okay, this person's not holy. Well, really no human being is. From what I read, and I don't mean to be offensive, there are good people out there, of course, and there is good, but it just made that clear, like, oh, okay, I can't go down this path.
Well, you start to see in the spiritual world, especially, a lot of people using that for other means. That's why every time a cult gets together, it always ends poorly, I think, because in the middle there always seems to be someone who's just trying to get laid or whatever. I was going to ask you if you think he slipped you something. Did he give you a drink before your session or anything?
Nothing.
Okay, all right.
Nothing at all.
So
I went in, like I saw another woman there and she looked really happy. And when I was done with the session, I felt really cathartic. Like I never felt so, like I used to struggle with feeling shame and guilt. And I don't know why. It was just something that I carried with myself from my childhood, maybe. I don't know. My mom grew up Catholic, so it was kind of like if you did anything wrong, you just felt shame. But I didn't. It's funny how that can be thrown at you, but then again, it's like Jesus died for your sin. You don't have to feel that. You're free from that. Yeah, it gets screwed up.
Lost in translation.
So,
Did you feel lifted from all that guilt for a little while?
I felt lifted, but then real chaos started coming into my life, and that weekend, I remember looking in the mirror and I'm like, we're in a meat suit. And I started to feel kind of crazy. Like, we're just in meat suits. And I started to have, like, I couldn't walk past in the grocery store. I remember going to the grocery store and in the meat section, and I could hear the, like, animals crying.
Whoa.
And I'm like, okay, this is weird. Like, screaming, like, animals being butchered. And that's what and I started to... I don't know what to call it, like have some sort of like clairvoyant senses where I'd have clients come in and I could pick up on something and I'd say something and almost feel connected to certain people, especially clients that I saw on a regular basis. I could, and that wasn't something that I had before. I mean, yeah, you can pick up on things, but it was like something a little more. And, but I think, we're watched all the time by forces, and they can, when you open yourself, what happened was it's what's considered, your kundalini opens and all your chakras line up. That's according to the Hindu thing. And
crazy shit happens.
Crazy stuff happens. Anything can go inside of you. I believe in soul ties, so I think that can happen too. As a massage therapist, you can, your soul, or when someone massages you, it's like you kind of become connected to them because it's a form of intimacy, even though it's not sexual. Yeah. It's just a different kind of intimacy, and you're vulnerable, or you're both kind of vulnerable,
right?
And or even body work, it doesn't have to be massage therapy. So you just, I don't know. I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but
no, I understand. Just the feeling of you went full metaphysical out of nowhere, it seems like. Yeah. And thinking of meat suit, I went through that too, but I don't know what it is. My whole life I've had a certain belief system that keeps getting more and more strong as I get older, but less and less I feel like, as my friend said it so well, that I have to explain it because you can't explain it. So if I give it a name, suddenly a bunch of people will either love or hate you, so I never give it a name. I just say, I just know this has been true for me all these years. But if you don't have that very secure and you dabble in certain things, I could see how it could throw you for a loop. All of a sudden you're seeing new things. And when you first study Kundalini, it looks kind of scary. There's snakes coming up your spine.
Well, it is scary, but the end, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you're giving yourself over to a demonic force called Shiva. And, that's another god. That's a false god. And, it's a big deal. I think God gives you gifts at different times. Everybody has different gifts, and I just want to clarify. It is scary. I think it's something that people shouldn't mess with, but it's their own choice.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to make some terrible choices and bounce back, hopefully, from it, like you did.
Yeah. And I did have some knowledge of it. I just didn't understand it. I'm like, what? That's like, That's so woo-woo, whatever. And then, I think it was supposed to go down that path to figure out where I'm supposed to be now. Does that make sense?
Seems to be what life's all about.
Yeah.
First time you get that, I got a ticket when I was 19 for not having insurance when I drove, and they took my car away, and I had to walk home, and my dad was cutting the grass. He's like, what happened to your car? And I had to do the walk of shame. I didn't pay my bill. And he looked so disappointed. I had to get a work permit and all that. And after that, I'm like, I better pay for my insurance. That's a good idea. But that's the thing. I know as a lot of I think, yeah, so far everybody I've had podcasts with have been parents. That's the hardest thing, I believe, is you have to know that your child has to go through those trials as well. And you almost can't stop them, because if you cushion the entire world for them, then there's another set of problems that arise from there that could be even worse.
Right, right.
What do you do as a parent? You just let them touch the stove when it's hot and hope they don't do it again? Well, you don't push them towards the stove, but
Right. I mean, you just tell them, and you know, my daughter does test me like that sometimes, and I tell you 3 times.
she have her hand above the flame, like, look what I'm doing.
She knows not to touch this. She did touch something and got burnt, so she knows.
You know what terrifies me the most? Not to interrupt you.
No.
When I was a kid, I remember watching this PSA on TV about when you cook, never have the handle out from the stove, where a kid could reach up and just pull like a boiling pot of hot water on them. And so even though I don't have kids, when I cook, I always make sure the handles are in.
Yeah.
And I thought, if I'm freaking out about this and I don't have kids, what are you guys going through?
Yeah.
Or do you just get numb to it? You're like, whatever happens, happens. I can't help everything.
Yeah. You kind of get mad because they continue to not. I get mad. Not every parent, but at some point you're like, I've told you so many times.
Time to learn.
Time to learn.
Lesson time.
There was a circumstance, she's flailing herself around, she falls, and I've told, you see why? And I'm like, you see? And I don't know if that's going to bite me in the butt later, but
Maybe not. There's got to be a lot of
I
told you so
don't know
moments.
if I should do that. I think I got to come up with a better phrase. It's just like,
How about that'll learn you?
I gotta just come up with something better and be more encouraging, because I want her to feel safe to come to me if there's something serious or whatever. And my parents, what did they do?
They laugh. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, my
That'll
mom
teach
would
you.
laugh, or my dad, or my dad would be like,
My dad was that way too.
yeah.
It was old school learning. But as long as it wasn't too serious, when I was a kid, I still have the mark here and I have a mark here where we had a push lawnmower. This is old school. And right away, that's a nightmare, a push lawnmower for a kid. But I remember my dad said, stay away from the push lawnmower. That thing could just take your fingers right off. And I was thinking, oh, well, this must be dangerous, but it made me curious about it. So I went up and I just looked at it one time, and there was something sticking out of the blades. I forgot what it was, a dandelion or something. And I went up and I thought, as long as I just grab the dandelion and pull it out, I'm okay. 'Cause it's not on. Yeah. Not that you could ever turn on a push lawnmower.
That's my daughter's logic. Totally.
What happened was, as I reached for the dandelion, my shoulder or something pushed the handle, which propelled it forward just 1 inch. And I remember the blade hit my finger, and it felt like someone took their finger and just like snapped it on my finger. And I was like, oh, that hurt. And I looked. And do you get easily grossed out?
No, I just feel bad.
My finger, you could see it. It's, well, maybe not from there, but it's a diagonal line. My finger was hanging like this.
My.
And that's my guitar pinky, my fretting hand. And I remember looking at it, and it didn't register with me.
The bone got cut too?
It was, the whole tip was basically, kind of hanging out to the side. And I went to my mom, and I just held it up, and she almost fainted. And then another time I dropped a glass jar, and I remember the glass popped up off the ground and cut me right where most people would slit their wrists kind of area. Yeah. And it looks like a caterpillar scar. And I'm thinking, how did I survive my childhood? How did any of us survive it, all that stuff?
We're protected too, I think.
Yeah, totally. That goes into that whole thing we were talking about, where I felt like something's always been watching.
Yeah, something's watching, something's protecting.
Yeah.
I know.
Have you had a lot of close calls? I'm sure everyone has, but...
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, I think throughout life all the time, if you get in your car or...
Yeah, every time you get in your car, it's a close call if you think about it. All it takes is the little yellow line to cross that, or ever almost drown, or...
No, but I've been I remember being in my early 20s, living in an apartment in Uptown, Stevens Square, not the best area, but... And just being super wasted and... biking home, and how many times could I have gotten hit by a car? I remember wiping out, or I just had really just issues with drinking around that time, but I was kind of going through some hard stuff and dealing with it that way.
Keep trying to picture you at early 20s drinking and being crazy. It must have been wild.
I was scrappy. Yeah, really scrappy and just like this rock chick, like whatever, just I could do that, whatever.
You're walking the walk.
Walking the walk. Oh my gosh.
Dang.
If I would have known jiu-jitsu then, that would have been serious problems for me. I'd probably be in jail.
You'd be a coral belt by now. You'd just be killing everyone.
Or maybe it would have kept me out of trouble. It would have been like something.
Yeah, for sure. But you found music and I mean, music can lead you to trouble, true.
Yeah.
But even the craziest people that were in music in my life, they're either dead or they've changed a lot over the years and become more just humble. Life just humbles you. Mm-hmm. And if you think you're a badass and you're the, hot shit, somebody dies or something happens and suddenly, I don't know. Not too long ago, I almost lost my ability to play guitar because I thought I had carpal tunnel in my hand. And I told the story already where I was grabbing the shampoo bottle in the shower and my hand hurt so bad I dropped it. I thought, how simple would that be overnight just to lose your ability to do the thing you do all the time?
Oh, yeah.
So you get humbled by that. And then every day you can play or you play a gig and you're not hurting. You're like, this is great.
Yeah, I know. It's like when something bad happens, it's kind of a blessing because
your thumb getting jammed.
Yeah, you're like, oh man, you're thankful for what you do. You do have.
Mm-hmm. You ever do the musician thing where you're like, how many fingers do I really need to play this instrument? Okay, if I have one finger, I can still play bass at least.
Yeah.
Or I can drop D and still play.
Yeah.
Mark Malman, we both have played with Mark, told me a story where a bass player, I think he hurt his right hand somehow, and he played the whole show fretting everything with just his left hand. And I was thinking, that's what you do as a musician. There's something about where you have to do it, you just do it. Right. Someone could go on stage and literally punch you in the stomach and you'd still finish the set somehow.
Yeah.
There's just some kind of adrenaline rush that happens for
Oh, yeah, for sure. Oh, yeah.
Which you know very well, seeing you play on stage.
Things go wrong all the time. You're like, pedals stop working or keyboard. I've had like keyboard stuff. Like
that's scary.
Keyboard stops working and you're like, oh, I guess I just didn't have keyboard. And I'm like, what the hell, sound guy? I'm waving my hand.
So was it a monitor thing or did your keyboard just go black?
I've had keyboards go black or just stop working.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I had a keyboard where I'm pretty sure it was called Phantom and I'm pretty sure it was possessed.
I know the
the Phantom. And it was. Yeah.
There's some keyboards that will last through anything. You're just amazed. You spill a beer on it, it still works. But then there's other ones, maybe even fancier ones, that just die at the shortest notice. It's crazy. But I think that keyboard I'm loaning you or whatever is pretty solid.
I can't wait to try it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
People always say, you have to have one of those kind of keyboards. They're super hip. And I thought they just looked cool, but they sound awesome too. Mm-hmm. There's just too many sounds. I don't know. Yeah.
What I have is so overkill. It's great. It's awesome. It's going to be great for recording. But yeah, I'm just
heavy. Don't
look forward to hauling it to gigs and... And
do you have a case for it and stuff?
I do. Okay. It's like, I swear it weighs as much as I do.
Okay.
It's just so heavy.
What is it?
It's a Juno. I don't know. It's so terrible.
Old school Juno. Some of those can get pretty heavy.
It's new.
Okay.
But they stopped making Juno Gs and we had our trailer stolen. And so I had to replace it.
This is a Melsmatics thing?
Yeah.
Where was it parked?
It was parked in our driveway.
Oh. Okay.
But I thought it was all taken out, but we're parents and we get home late from a gig and one night, I just assumed Ryan took it out and he didn't. And so there was my keyboard in there and Mark kept his bass amp in there and Ryan had his guitar amp in there.
All of it got stolen?
It all got stolen. But not all our gear, but your keyboard, it's just like so you spend all this time making your patches and you have all your programs set for when you play a show. So, I hit 1 and that's for this song and 2, 3, 4. And
you get used to it.
Yeah.
Then it's gone.
And then it's gone. And it's just like never been the same. I'm like, now I hate the keyboard because I don't have my keyboard.
There's something about that, even pedals and stuff, when you're used to certain configurations and I don't know, it's you get in a groove where you want to play, you don't want to think about which pedals to hit. That's why I went to this Kemper for the Heart Band because every song has its own you just hit up to the next song, and I literally have the song list programmed in it. But I was thinking, if you have to go back to pedals, now you're worrying about that. You're not worrying about putting on a good show or the song, and it's like starting over almost.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys get any of it back?
No.
Wasn't there a rash of...
And we didn't have our serial numbers.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Who thinks to do that, by the way?
I know. You know what? Get serial. Write down. I'll do it for you sometime. Like I will write down all your serial numbers.
You'll be here a while.
Take take a picture, whatever.
Yeah.
Keep it in your computer and on your phone. Everybody do that, please, if you're a musician.
Public service announcement. You know what I did once after I heard about all these thefts happening? Because you know what it's like to be... I shouldn't announce. I won't. Never mind. I'm going to backtrack on this. But if you're in the business, you know where other musicians are vulnerable. That's what I'll say. What I did afterwards is I took my phone and I just took pictures of every instrument, the front of it, then the serial number, and I put it somewhere. It's probably lost in some drive somewhere, but if shit hit the fan, I think I could dig it up.
Oh, good.
And then at least for your main things, you can get the serial number, even though they'll probably scratch it out when they sell it to the pawn shop or whatever they do.
I know they could do that, yeah.
I mean, come on. You're stealing from musicians. This is really sad.
It's sad.
They're already broke, and they're trying to make a living doing their dream, and you're stealing their shit. It's just so low.
Yeah.
Steal from like a hedge fund. No, don't do that. Hedge fund manager. No,
Go
don't
to
do
a
that.
diner.
Yeah.
Go to a diner and bug those. No. I mean, stealing's wrong, but...
I had my car broken in Edina once.
Oh, okay.
And I was so mad. I was like, you spoiled rich bastards. Just because you're bored doesn't mean you could break into my 98 Saturn and steal my...
You know, living in Plymouth, I knew people that were like that. And I'm
Really?
like, you have a freaking really nice house and your parents are loaded. Why? But usually they're acting out because maybe actually their parents were never around.
The Winona Ryder effect, I think they call it, where they're
Oh.
just bored
Yeah.
and they have everything, so they need to feel a thrill. I think that's what it is.
I love that label.
She got busted. I think she stole a bunch of dresses
Oh,
or
yeah.
something.
It's Saks or whatever.
Yeah, but I don't care. I still love her no matter
I
what.
love her too. I'll
But when it
never
comes,
hate her.
think about this: if everything in your life is cushioned, you live a nerfed life. Suddenly, hey, maybe if I take $1 from that guy's wallet, it's exciting. You feel alive all of a sudden. Or
Yeah,
something. I don't
yeah,
know.
that too.
It's the old: if you don't get attention, you look for it in different ways.
My daughter does stuff. I mean, she doesn't do that, but she does. If I'm not paying attention to her or whatever, and
She'll find it somehow.
start acting out, and then I'll ask her why, and she'll tell me that's the reason.
Really? Mm-hmm. At least she's honest about it.
Yeah, I love that she's honest.
I just need attention, Mom. Come on.
Because I want you to look at me. I want you to play with me, or I want you to this. And it's usually when I'm cramming for a gig or something.
Yeah.
But she does she doesn't have a sibling, so she does require, a little bit more.
Just set her in front of the TV like everyone else.
I allow that for a period of time, but then, I don't know.
We grew up on TV, right?
Yes, we did.
Do you remember? It's the old cable guy thing. I learned the facts of life from watching the facts of life. But what do you remember growing up with?
Oh my gosh.
We're showing our age.
Gem and the Holograms, in the morning cartoons.
That was only on for 3 years. Did you
It
know
was
that?
short, yeah.
Yeah, it's too
I
bad.
remember noticing that. The Cosby Show, Family Ties. Do you remember Family? I was so into that for some reason.
I was in love with, what's her name? Justine Bateman.
Oh, yeah. She's beautiful.
Still am.
I loved Michael J. Fox.
He was on top of the world. That was around, 84, 85? He
Yeah.
could do no wrong.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many. We had so many good shows.
We were lucky.
Webster and the other one.
Different Strokes.
Different
we had.
Strokes.
Webster.
Webster,
Webster.
yes.
Whatever was his name Emmanuel Lewis or something?
Yes.
Whatever happened to that dude?
Is he still alive? Yeah, he's still alive. The other
I get him
one's
confused. This sounds super bad, but I get him confused with Gary Coleman.
Yeah.
Who I think is still around.
not. Yeah, I
Okay.
think he is.
That whole cast of Different Strokes. Did you hear all about that stuff? They all had tragic lives. and
Yeah, I think I remember hearing that.
Todd Bridges got busted for gun stuff, I think. But man,
Oh, Todd Bridges. I had
The brother.
such a crush on
Really?
him. He was, I was like, oh, he's so hot. Yeah.
he was cool. He was the cool older brother. in
Yeah.
that. And
Willis.
yeah. What you talking about?
That's Willis.
But I had a crush on Dana Plato when I was younger, and there was an episode where she was going, I forgot what it was. She was going to the beach and wearing like a bikini, and she was covered in a robe. I remember this like it was yesterday. And she opens her
remember this.
She opens her robe to show everyone she's proud of her new bathing suit, and she kind of looked a little too happy at the attention she was getting.
Oh.
And it's sort of in my brain, even though I was 9 years old or whatever it was, I was like, that's kind of weird, because you didn't really see that all the time. She's kind of bouncing, and this is my body.
I had a friend like that. I went,
Super happy
yeah, my
about their-
best friend. Oh, she'd stick out her chest, and I'm just like, why are you doing that? You
In
know,
front
and
of a
then the
mirror?
guys would be like, whoa.
You're like,
And I'm
that's
like,
why.
I'm never gonna be like that.
I've got other attributes besides that, thank you.
Who knows?
But isn't that the same as the kid trying to get, I hate to say a kid, but attention? You're going to get it some way.
Yeah.
Ever wonder that, though, if we're just as bad as those? Did you want any more?
Oh, I know I'm equally as bad because
Are you good?
I'm good. Yeah, I
Okay.
can't have that. But
I feel like you and I, well, we're kind of the same person. We've discovered that. Music, jiu-jitsu, this drive to always get better at stuff. But I feel like if I didn't have all these ways of getting myself out there, I'd probably do something bad. I don't know, destructive more.
right.
Like David Blaine it and try to do some crazy shit just because I never learned guitar or something. I don't know. What do you think you would do?
I always knew, like, I always wanted to do something that made me feel happy, that I cared about, because, when you work, that's your life. That you spend most of your time doing that. You're 8 hours a day, 40 hours, 60 hours, sometimes 80 hours a week doing that.
Some people.
And people are like, you should be a sign language interpreter. You shouldn't, And I'm like, no, I want to be a musician.
Why did they say that? Because of your parents?
Because of my parents, and I didn't, I just played guitar in my room by myself, and I was self-taught until I decided I can pay for lessons. I'm working at Burger King.
Oh, you bought your own?
I bought my own lessons. Yeah, my parents did not. We lived in Plymouth, but they were like, my dad made $25 an hour and worked 40 hours a week, and then my mom was a hotel cleaner, and they were deaf, so they couldn't get. My dad had an okay job. That's not a bad hourly rate,
Especially back then.
yeah, back then. But we ended up in Plymouth because my dad won a lottery to buy our house for $50,000.
That's so awesome.
Now that house is worth like $400,000.
Good investment.
Yeah. So
and they've been there how many years?
Oh, we moved there when I was like 7, 6 or
wow.
7.
So they just saw the value go,
Yeah.
well, up, down, up, down, up.
Up, down,
Okay.
and yeah. And they were trying to populate the area on purpose,
Your
and it
parents
did.
were? No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
no. No, they didn't have any more kids after my sister. They have 3 kids. So, yeah, they were poor. I remember like going through times where like, my dad was like an alcoholic, and so he'd drink a lot and spend lots of money on booze every weekend. I remember him coming home with like 224 packs of Busch, or those long neck bottles. You remember those?
It's like my dad, too, yeah.
Yeah, and you just get.
How much per day would you say? How many bottles a day?
I think you'd go through like 12
How do
12
people,
beers.
how do they drink that much beer? My dad did, too.
I don't
One after the other.
No, yeah, I don't know.
Sitting on
And
the
I know
recliner.
he would like pass out on the lawn,
Whoa.
or he'd be working on plumbing and pass out. And that ended when I was 11. My mom got fed up. But yeah, he just had some unresolved darkness to deal with, and he
You gotta
dealt with
silence
it.
those demons.
Yeah, and in growing up as just being a deaf person is incredibly isolating because it's a hearing world.
Can't even imagine.
Yeah, so
I had that one thing where my ear went bad, and I thought that was bad. But then I was grateful that it just didn't shut off, and I thought, wow, I always have this ear at least, but imagine having neither.
oh yeah.
Like, you must always feel,
Well, when you know when you know what hearing's like.
And then
But with deaf people, it's not even, they don't know what they're missing.
from day one, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Except my dad didn't become, he can actually hear everything, but his brain can't process speech.
Oh.
So he actually kind of at 4, you're pretty developed at that time. But he had a
Sorta.
traumatic brain injury that caused his hard of hearing and the dysfunction in what he was hearing. So I think maybe it was hard on him that way. Like he was finding himself to be limited or told, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. And I don't know if his mom was, just wasn't very encouraging. But what's hard is when they come and they hit these roadblocks or are told to do something. What hurt my parents is they grew up in the time when doctors were saying, you don't learn sign language, let your kids learn how to adapt to the hearing world. And that was an Alexander Graham Bell thing. He really did a disservice to the deaf community, but he was this huge public figure and invented the phone, and he married a deaf woman too. And but he was like for eugenics and
really?
Deaf people shouldn't marry deaf people, and this is just a little deaf culture history here.
So he didn't want anyone to learn how to communicate. They just should adapt.
Adapt and learn how to communicate in the best way they can. But it hurt, like my parents, it hurt their skills to learn English. So then that affects your job skills. So if you can't like make a resume, or you have a writing and reading level of a second grader, I mean, it looks really bad.
For sure.
Especially nowadays. But now it's not like that. Now people have options. People can get cochlear implants, which also some really strong deaf culture people are like, that's cultural genocide. You shouldn't do that. But
really,
yeah.
I figured that was the thing, but I didn't
that's
know.
some of them. But
They don't want you to leave the group or something, or what?
yeah, because it's a rich culture. It really is. It's got, it's got its own games. It's got its own. The language is beautiful. I love it. I feel like it's like when I am immersed in it, I'm like, oh, I'm home in a way. Like it's just so expressive, and the way to convey describing things or telling stories, I think, is so rich. But that's, I'm just a visual person too, so that might be why. But at the same time, I also understand when a parent wants to feel connected to their child, and if they don't have time to learn sign language or might be, kind of rusty at it, and it's a tough one,
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I mean, I grew up watching Little House on the Prairie, and they had all sorts of, this person can't see, this person can't hear. But I never thought in Little House on the Prairie, when one of the characters, sorry, I'm using a TV show.
No, that's okay.
All of a sudden had the chance to see, the husband got really jealous because he was afraid she was going to run off and not want to be with him anymore. And is it that same kind of thing where you just want to keep your group together?
Yes.
Interesting.
It isn't. The only thing I'm totally against is oral schools.
What's that?
That's where they force the deaf kid to learn how to just adapt and learn how to learn English through reading a teacher's lips. Because you make the same mouth shapes for so many words that could mean totally the opposite from each other. I've had so many, my mom grew up that way, and I remember like we get things mixed up even to this day, like with my daughter's care. I'm like, Mom, do not do this because of this. And I'm like, do you understand? And she'll be like, yeah, I understand. And then she'll totally do something and she'll be, you said this. And I'm like, no, I said this. And I have to write it down, and it's just.
That could be dangerous too, right?
Yeah, and there's an oral school at a church in Roseville, and I just want to write. I just get so mad, and I remember someone like, oh, it's actually I shouldn't say talk too loud because it's like someone in the music community's parents' church, and I remember them saying, oh, sign language, you should come work with us. But they discourage sign language, but they learn better by having explained in a language they can see, and they'll have way better English skills if they just see it.
So how do they know they're doing it right? Do they have a vibration way of feel it or something? Because I heard
Speaking right, you mean, or
yeah, even if you make the right mouth sounds or whatever, are they trying to get the person to actually make sounds, or are they just trying to get you to read lips?
they're just trying to get you. They're trying to get them to learn how to say the words.
Actually say it.
My dad is mute. He can't talk at all.
So even if he makes sounds, he doesn't know what it sounds
Yeah,
like.
and when anyone tries to lip read with him, it's awful. He can't, but his signing is really good. And he didn't learn it till he was like 16 because one of his teachers came up to him and he's like, you know what? You're doing really bad at school. I know that you why don't you just learn sign language? And first he was hesitant because he didn't want, kids to judge him for using his hands to speak. And he went and did it. And it was his English skills are way better than my mother's. And my mother didn't learn sign language till she was like 21. And but she can speak the words, but she'll say words wrong. And it's all they learn like through mouth shapes or like a tongue depressor. They put a thing in their mouth to learn to push their tongue down so that the sound will come out the right way.
So they're kind of shaping their mouth so it sounds right?
Yeah, and they're like in front of a mirror or like I remember it's a funny story. When I was like 3 or 4, we lived in a duplex, and there was this little girl another girl I'd play with. She was older than me, actually, so I was the little girl, and we'd play. And I remember going over to her side of her house, and her mom was like, do you want something to drink? And we called soda Shoker. Now, does it look like my mouth makes the same shape? Shoker, soda. And so it makes the same mouth shape. And I'm like, I want a shoker. And that's how my mom would say it.
Oh, okay. Sounds like sugar, which is close to soda.
Yeah, it sounds like sugar, doesn't it? But
sugar.
It is sugar. So I'm like,
just get used to what you hear.
I want shoker. And what's that? Yeah, and they're, what? And I'm like, I want shoker. You know what? Shoker. I want a shoker. And what? And the mom comes over here and she's really pissed at me. She opens the fridge. She's like, show me in here. What's a shoker? And I'm like traumatized by the event. It's like the first time I experienced my first memory of experiencing a culture clash at that point.
Right.
And I'm pointing there in the fridge and that's pop. That's soda. No, it's shoker. And I just went home like crying to my mom and
you feel like you've been living a lie of some guy.
You kind of do, yeah. Or, someone's...
That's like me pointing and saying, this is actually black when it's white.
Pretty much.
What?
Yeah.
That makes no sense. I have to relearn everything. Shoker. Wow. I know what that feels like. I grew up with a Korean mom, and my friends would come over, and my mom would say, hey, want to go outside? And it would sound very much like English to me. Want to go outside? Duh. And my friends would start laughing. Like, what's so funny? I had no idea what she just said, and you understood her. And my friends are like, I don't know. My friends were so taken aback that I couldn't understand my own mom.
That's the same thing with my mom, too.
Mm-hmm. And you're like, she just said, you want to go outside? And they're like, no, she just said, and they would make super Asian sounds back then. They didn't care. And I was used to it by then. I'm like, I don't hear it that way. Mm-hmm. And yeah, my mom's been in the country for how many decades now? She still hasn't gotten better at English, which is a little weird. But
I think it's so cute.
I don't know. When I was younger, I didn't think about how strange it is that she wasn't getting better at English. She got better right away, but then she kind of leveled off and plateaued. But I feel like if you were in a country for 40 years, you'd probably start to pick things up, right?
Yeah.
But she tries. I don't know. She just doesn't get out in the world too much. But yeah, so I kind of understand what it's like to have that disconnect.
I remember forgetting to tell one of my friends that my parents were deaf.
Yeah.
And she came over. This is a junior high when this is terrible, but I used to imitate people with Down syndrome.
We all did back then.
Yes.
It was a different world.
And I used to make people laugh. So then I would do it even more because you get this high off of making people laugh. And she came over and she started laughing and she's like, your mom does that too? And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Whoa, the smile slowly melts off.
And then I'm like, oh, my mom's deaf. And she's like, what? You never told me that.
Oh. Did she feel weird about it? Like, oh,
It was like, oh shoot, I forgot.
Because it's normal to you.
Yeah.
You don't see that. You ever have that thing where, I don't know if your dad was aggressive or anything, but when I grew up, my dad was always, not always, but there was a point where he was super pissed all the time and scary and all that. And I went to my friend's house and I was expecting his dad to be the same way. But it's sort of like getting out in the world and dipping your toe in the water in other worlds and seeing what's normal. And you could grow up thinking the most fucked up stuff is normal and then get out of your house and go, wow, I was totally growing up the wrong way or something.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel that way?
Oh yeah. I was like, oh, it was a bad thing, I think. Like, I think now that I'm a parent, or even just when I came to my faith, I started to be less harsh on that. And then you meet other people and you get to know them on a deeper level and you realize their families are messed up too.
Everybody's are somehow.
Yeah, like every family is dysfunctional, I'm convinced, on some level.
Right. Even if they hide it, there's something in the closet.
Oh,
probably.
absolutely. It will leak out. Yeah.
That's the scary part. I had an ex-girlfriend whose parents seem picture perfect. To this day, they still do. Maybe I found the only pair of picture perfect parents, but outside of that, aunts and uncles, they're a little crazy and stuff, but
they're supposed to be.
Yeah. I always think that. How boring would it be to have a normal uncle that was, I'm going to the Twins game. I'm going to sit here and drink water. It's like you want a little bit of craziness that's why my stepdad was so valuable, because he came into my life and he was a biker and he had a beard and long hair and he listened to the Grateful Dead. And I was this little square kid. Oh, he's a hippie. And he taught me how to get into Zeppelin and all this cool stuff. My dad too, my real dad, was into cool music and he taught me how to drum and everything. But just having different perspectives growing up seems to be super important. That's why it's weird when people want to shelter their kids so much that they don't learn any other facets of life except through them. And you wonder, do these parents just want clones of themselves, or are they just worried about the child?
Yeah, that's a good, I wonder if it's they're compensating because they weren't so well protected as children, and then that's their reaction to that. And
that seems like a whole generation grew up with people compensating.
Yeah.
So here's everything I never had, and it doesn't always serve them well. Mm-hmm. Does it spoil them, or does it just give them an unrealistic version of life? Or
I think it gives them an unrealistic version of life, maybe, but it depends what goes on in their life too. I mean, sometimes trials or whatever come, and then that can humble people.
Put your kids in jiu-jitsu, they'll get humbled quick.
Oh, I know, right?
Or anything that makes them try.
Yeah.
That's why I understand wrestling now. You ever, when you're in school and you don't understand wrestling, at least I didn't, I always thought, why are these two boys rolling on top of each other? And now I get mad kind of inside when I'm watching UFC with somebody and they're like, oh, look at those guys rolling on the ground. I get so mad. They're doing stuff. They're actually trying for submissions and all this. But when I was young, I had the same issue with wrestling. But I guess it's all part of growing up and seeing things from another perspective. But the good news is it seems like the younger generations are understanding more quicker. I think it's because of the internet. But when we were growing up, we didn't have that, so we had to learn everything the hard way, maybe. I don't know.
We did. Yeah, we didn't have as many options to things either, right? It's like now we're in this day of we have so many options, but it almost kind of hurts you a little bit too.
Too many. It's like having an endless buffet and someone asking you what your favorite food is. You don't know. You haven't even tried half of it. So when I ask a student what their favorite bands and songs are, they pull out their phone and I'm like, oh, you don't even know who you like.
Oh, that's right.
And then I can't be mad at them because it used to be where a student would come in with a mix CD. Remember those?
Yes.
After mixed tapes, but still.
I miss that.
Yeah, and they would take a marker and draw every single band logo or the name of the song. And I love Good Charlotte. I love this band. I love Nirvana. I love all this. And they love. I remember all that word being used so much. And then there was a weird turnover sort of in the MP3 generation where I remember downloading, allegedly, through LimeWire, the entire catalog of a band. And it was in one folder, and I never opened it, but I owned it. And that sort of told me when you have everything at your fingertips, the value of it sort of goes away a little bit.
Right. Well, it's like you only pick the hit songs, but don't you remember getting a CD of a band, and even though you only liked one song, you sat and you listened to the record over and you marinated in it, and then you eventually loved all the songs.
Yep.
It's like that doesn't happen anymore.
If you give somebody the option of having, if they had, like you said, the one hit song, here's a CD. First of all, I don't think you'd give them a CD. They'd have nothing to play it in. But if they could, of 11 more of their songs, they'd be like, yeah, I haven't heard it yet. It wasn't on, a big hit on YouTube. I don't care.
Yeah.
But you ever notice when you go into the deep cuts of your favorite bands, they have a deeper place in your heart? I don't know if it's a hipster thing, like I don't want to love the song everyone else loves so much, but I found this track on side B, back when there were sides, that only I resonate with, or you feel like it's just for you or something. Mm-hmm. Happens with Kiss albums quite a bit. You got to dig through a lot of crap sometimes, but you find the gem.
Yeah. And
then you really feel connected to the band that you're listening to. Like today, is anyone connected to anybody?
I wonder. Tell them to leave a comment.
Please do. You open up and there's a real exciting video and it's almost like sugar. It gives you that rush right away.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, but then it leaves you kind of feeling empty and you got to fill it again with something else. It's like they want to keep you hungry or something, so you click on things.
That happened since the MP3 thing. I remember getting like Wolf Mother.
Yeah.
And like Tame Impala, like, oh, it's a great, but for some reason, it's like you could just keep getting more in the next songs you like, but getting that high of hearing that Elephant song and, oh, this is so great. And then you listen to other songs and you're like, whatever.
And you don't have the patience to really dig anymore. Maybe it's an age thing. Like, are we going to sit around and listen to the second half of the Elephant? It just doesn't, I don't know.
Right.
So it's sort of weird. I will do that if a band I really love comes out with an album. Every time Jack White comes out with an album, I listen to it all. But I don't go back to it, though, like I used to. I'd go back. Maybe it's because I only had the one CD for a long time. Back when I bought records, I had to play it just to justify getting one album every year or something. So I knew Kiss Alive back and forth. I knew everything he was going to say between the songs. And I'm glad I had that experience.
Yeah, I am too.
It's like a depth that you can't feel anymore. Or something.
You're onto something.
Maybe.
You could do this thing like the 30-day music challenge.
Yeah.
Listen to the same album every day for 30 days.
I wrote an article for this magazine called The Edge, and it was called Finding Depth in Our Shallow Situation or something like that. But it talked about the endless buffet way of everything today, and it's all because money-driven stuff. They just want you to get more and more, consume as much as you can. But one day I said, screw it, I'm going to listen to one Queen song for a whole week, and I did. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those things where, I don't know, I just heard new things coming out of the song. You ever do that? You take one song that you have to learn for a band, Heart especially, when I learn Heart songs, and you go, I never knew that was in there. And then you learn it, and then you come back to it a month later, and you hear something even deeper, and it just keeps going on good music, it seems like.
Yeah.
There's depth to things. And
oh, totally.
is that the mark of good music, or is it just what people will listen to? Have we lowered our standards to all of a sudden accepting auto-tune? I almost said out of tune.
Well, absence of guitars now.
Yeah.
Seems like guitar is disappearing.
Well, that's been a thing for a long time now, but it's got its place, but just in a different place. Maybe not top charts or anything anymore.
Right.
But I ask, because I don't teach as much privately, but I ask my other teachers, how are your numbers? And they're all at capacity.
Okay.
So guitar is really popular, and I wonder if it's a reaction to all this unfeeling music. Hitting play on a laptop just isn't going to do it for people forever. Mm-hmm. Imagine being a sad teenager. We had Smashing Pumpkins, we had Nine Inch Nails, we had all those dark bands that we could connect to, and you look for comfort in something, and all of a sudden you have nothing because every song sounds like, I don't want to rip on anybody, but you know what I mean? Something you can't connect to. And all of a sudden you find it, and I don't know if you can find it even, but you pick up a guitar and suddenly you're at least feeling the vibrations. It's sort of more real.
Yeah. Oh, I do kind of remember that. Yeah, like that. You feel the music. Mm-hmm. You feel the emotion of the notes and the chords that they pick to play. Mm-hmm. You know who's doing a good job? Billie Eilish.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and there's no guitar. I mean, I haven't listened to everything, but I'll go through and listen. And
she's on a weird level. I don't know how she got there, but I know her brother was in Glee, I think, so she had it in.
Oh.
This is just stuff my students told me. And I played that one video where she looks like she's being torn apart and scary. And I thought, this is like Nine Inch Nails meets Bjork meets Fiona Apple. It's all this crazy artistic stuff. And have you ever seen her live?
No, I would like to though.
Look her up. She just did Coachella, of course, but she was on the B stage, and I guess she had all these technical difficulties, which sucks when you're her kind of music because all of it depends on all the technical stuff. But there was big screens behind her, and she was on this bed, and it went crooked, and it raised in the air, and she stood kind of at a diagonal. I don't know if she had ropes or something holding her up, but she looked like the Exorcist, which is my biggest fear in life. And I was thinking, she's on another level for creativity.
Yeah.
Do you know if she's doing her own art and all that, like choreography or any of that? Because if she is, that's huge.
Yeah. I don't know. I would like to look into that. But yeah, I wonder, like, does she have some advisor helping her to get her recognized?
Yeah.
But it all fits. It all clicks together. The image, I think she looks like the Exorcist all the time.
Sometimes,
She's this beautiful girl that looks like the Exorcist.
Yep. And she doesn't exploit her beauty, which is cool. She wears baggy clothes and all that, but she's really a pretty, like, she's got the look, and she could go anywhere she wants, but she's kind of keeping it real as far as I know.
Yeah.
She was on a show called Hot Ones. Have you ever watched that show? Mm-mm. It's an internet show. I think it's called Hot Ones, where a guy puts 10, I think, different hot sauces, and they eat wings as they do an interview. And you see the other person get really uncomfortable, and some people throw up, some people just can't handle it. Aww. But she just kept going, I think I need milk. No, I'm good. Okay, no. And she was cool about it. But she was real down to earth, and then she is a huge Office fan, I guess. And the guy who plays Dwight Schrute came to her house and gave her a quiz and all this stuff. And so she's keeping it real, even though she could be the untouchable Lady Gaga type if she wanted to be. But I don't know. Where do you see her going? She's only,
she
16
writes
years?
so many great songs. I think as long as she keeps her head on straight, she could keep this going for a long time and have, she's super successful, but even maintain a cult following like Patti Smith. Because she was really big in her, at that time, and different, and people are like, well, who's this woman? And she's doing spoken word in her. Rock music.
She kept her fans all those years?
Yeah,
How do you do that?
I mean, I went and saw her show at the Northrop, and she redid it was a horses tour, and it was amazing.
That's cool. You got to see that?
Yeah.
It's like a legend doing their thing, and you got to witness it. And sometimes you don't realize the size of it until after it's done, and you look back and go, I actually got to see that.
I got to meet her. And I was like, I shook her hand. Whoa. And then she turned away and she looked back at me again and she shook my hand again. And I was like, oh my God.
She looked away because she was kind of busy, but then she knew, like...
She was teasing me, I think.
Oh, okay.
Or trying to be funny. Because I think someone told her, well, Dave Purder got us backstage. You got us in the concert. And
nice.
And Ryan told him, Pony's a real big fan of Patti Smith, just so you know.
So she's acting flippant at first just to mess with you?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. And she was smiling, and she's beautiful smile. And she looked so cool. She had this really cool plaid jacket, and she's this long, wild, silk, like white hair.
I believe it.
And just...
I can't imagine her not looking cool. Wouldn't that be weird if you went backstage and she was wearing like sweatpants or something?
Yeah. I mean, she just had these cool jeans. And it's like her persona is like, if you've read Kids, her book Kids, it's a good book. I'll pass it on to you. But she's very much who she says she is.
I think people pick up on the honesty of an artist sometimes. But I'll get the audiobook because I'm lazy. I try to read. I've been actually trying to speed read lately, but to no avail. My whole life's been plagued with no reading comprehension. I'll just look through words, and I'll flip the page, and I won't know what I just read.
Oh, I used to do that.
It's because the school trained me. Well, I'm not blaming school, but
no,
I had
did.
to finish reading before the end of the hour, so I just blah, 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 skim everything. And now I thought, what if I could speed read and just how many books could I read? I'd be so smart. And then I realized that's not the answer either. So I think what it is, it's kind of like jiu-jitsu. Don't know a million moves, or what Bruce Lee said. Study one kick and practice it 10,000 times. Don't practice 10,000 kicks one time.
Yeah.
It's a good quote to end on, I think.
That's a good one, yeah. Oh, it's so true.
Good old Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
How did that feel? Go down all right?
Yes, it was good.
I didn't know if Patron was like, that's considered good tequila, right?
It's good, yeah.
Okay, because it's more easy to drink, or is it is it less?
I like any tequila, honestly.
Okay.
Like, that's good. It's like smoother
Okay.
than other ones. I also like the cheap stuff too.
Ooh, I grew up on that stuff.
You know, and it's just, I just sip it, and it's just like makes me feel warm.
Tequila does that. It warms you. That's what sometimes whiskey or bourbon does for me.
Yeah.
But tequila changes my brain a little more than this does. This makes me more. I don't know what I would do if I sat and drank tequila with people.
I think everyone's body compositions and stuff makes
different.
them process alcohols differently for sure. Like if I drank whiskey, it's made me throw up before.
Oh, really?
I've gotten a fight on it a few times. I
love your fight stories.
Dangerous.
I don't know if you want to say this in the podcast, but didn't you throw a clock at somebody or you went on their tour bus?
Oh, yeah.
Was it Courtney Love or something?
It was Samantha Maloney. Yep, I accosted her on her
naming names.
bus.
She forgives you by now, I'm sure.
I hope so. I'm sure she's like that crazy pony. But yeah, I was supposed to audition for Courtney Love's band, and she was the gatekeeper and really was riding me along, and so was the manager. And they're like, okay, you're gonna fly in next week, and just Samantha Maloney's gonna contact you. And she's like, and I sent her a press kit, and I put in all this time on this press kit. I didn't hear anything, and then she forgot to block her number when she called me, so I called her back, and oh yeah, we're going with another guitar player. And then I'm just like, I was so mad because they were just roping me along for a long time. And what happened? So I don't know. Like, we played at South by Southwest, and we had a really great show. And I also played with Mark Malman that night too, and that was a great show. We opened up for Eagles of Death Metal, and Samantha Maloney played drums for Eagles of Death Metal.
Uh-oh.
And South by Southwest is just notorious for too much drinking, and it must have been I was 27 or 28 at the time, and my friends, the band Moth.
Mm-mm.
Oh, they have great albums too, great music.
It's a great name.
We toured with them a lot. I have crazy tour stories with them too. But the singer's wife was buying me whiskey water. I don't know, for whatever reason, I liked to drink whiskey water at that time, and I think I had like 8 of them.
Whoa!
And so I was not blacked out, but I was smashed, and
it's hot, so you want to drink more stuff, right?
yeah.
Okay.
And I was in the crowd dancing with my friend Christy. And I'm like, that's Samantha Maloney on drums, and I just start flipping her off. I'm like, fuck you.
From the crowd?
Yes. And then after the show was done, like, I remember talking to Malman backstage, and he's just like, you're drunk. And then I'm like, yes, I am. And I'm going to beat Samantha Maloney up. But I didn't, I just wanted to scare her, and I'm sure I did. And so I was, wearing this cute mini skirt, and I just pulled myself together to not seem so drunk. And the bass player's like, hey, come on the bus. And so I got on the bus, and I'm like, is Samantha Maloney on the bus?
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I pulled that card. And then the bass player's like, yeah, she's right back there. And she comes up, and she's like, hi. And I'm like, hi, I'm Pony, and I want my press kit back. And I got in her face, and then her manager pulls me off the bus, and I have a beer. Somehow I had a beer, and I'm just like, fuck you. And I threw the beer bottle, and it smashed against the tour bus.
Oh my God.
And then immediately after, Malman, we rode to South by Southwest with him, and my husband's there, and they're all laughing, and I just vomit.
Perfect ending to that situation.
And then I get into the vehicle, and then we drive home.
And you remembered all of it.
I do remember it, yeah.
I guess when something's that crazy, it sticks in the brain a little bit.
Yeah, and I was so embarrassed after. I'm like, oh my God.
That's true rock stardom right
And
there.
then Malman's like, Pony, you just can't drink. You just can't drink like that. You turn into a bitch when you drink. And I'm like, yeah. I turn into a bitch when I drink whiskey.
Well, it's good I kept it from you today.
Yes, I just won't drink it.
The funniest thing you said was, I want my press kit back. I can imagine you going to Kinko's, back then, making copies, doing all that stuff, putting it together. That is an awesome story. We better leave it on that one. That was a good one. So, okay, no whiskey for you.
Yeah.
Just tequila. All right. Well, whenever my screen goes to the screensaver, I hope it's still recording. But either way, I got this back up. So We'll see what happens. Cool. You okay with me releasing all that?
I think so.
Okay. She'll probably hear it and laugh.
Yeah, probably. I don't know if she'll hear it.
Crazy pony.
Yeah.
I want my press. Wouldn't that freak you out if she actually pulled it out of her pocket